have a little discussion about how we as fans judge West Ham and in particular at the moment the transfer window business, because there's actually a couple of comments in yesterday's video which really got me thinking about a confirmation bias. Now, when I say a confirmation bias, it's about you already having a belief about a certain subject and then you looking for different points that confirm your belief. We've all got a confirmation bias. If you're a regular watcher of the channel, you'll know mine. I think we lack pace in the team. So every time I see anyone in the team display any sort of lack of pace which costs us a creative opportunity, I always say, oh, there you go, I knew it. We lack a little bit of pace. Lanzini would be a confirmation bias. I think Lanzini is a fantastic footballer. So anytime I see Lanzini displaying a number of 1-2s and just being comfortable in possession, I'll look at it and I'll say, there you go, see, Lanzini, really, really good football. And perhaps because of my confirmation bias, I might maybe ignore a little bit at times when he doesn't play so well. We all do it. I mean, we really do. But let me just tell you a comment that was on yesterday's video, and it's fine. I get it, by the way. Somebody said on yesterday's video, I can't believe we keep on missing out to other clubs on all these deals. When I had a look at it, I thought, actually, that's not true. But that's just how somebody feels. Someone feels that we're missing out. So every time we miss out, obviously I know it feels crap, but they sort of expect us to miss out, and almost those ones only count. Reminded me of something years ago when I was first aware of what a confirmation bias was, although I hadn't given it a title at that point. I used to catch the bus to work. And when the bloke I used to catch the bus to work with, who lived in the same flats as me, whenever the bus was late, he always used to call it out. Oh, God, that bus is late. Bus is always late. I remember saying to him one day, actually, the bus isn't always late. It was on time on Friday. Last Friday. It was on time on Monday. It was about 2 minutes late on Tuesday. It was on time on Wednesday. And now we're getting to Thursday. The bus is always late. Well, it's not. The point of the matter is the times it was on time, he didn't ever stand there and say, oh, the bus is on time. That's good. I used to sit in Upton Park. I used to sit next to somebody. I've probably not told this story for quite some time. And he was frustrated with James Tompkins. He always expected James Tompkins to do really badly. And it was in the East Stand, and you say, oh, Tompkins! Tompkins. And everything was always Tompkins' fault. And he had a confirmation bias. Tompkins is useless. So it didn't really matter. Tompkins could have, I used to say, he could dribble past the whole team, the opposition, to score a goal. And the guy would still have said, why is he out of position? This is what it's like. Anyway, one day he was so used to going, Tompkins, and he was missing. I can't remember which game it was, but the ball came over. And Tompkins headed it in. And as he was in the process of heading it in, Tompkins! It was a bit like that. Confirmation bias. So, where does that put us in terms of the players that we're trying to bring in and the players we're missing out on? Because the examples that the chap gave, were missing out on Anana, we're missing out on definitely Lingard, possibly Kostic. Maybe those are the three. I might have it wrong. And we're missing out to other clubs on all these players. But it's very easy to view it from the prism of West Ham, just through, with your West Ham, your claret and blue tinted spectacles on. But your negative claret and blue tinted spectacles, because actually there's a load of counter stories to that. Did Lingard choose Nottingham Forest over us? Yeah, he did, didn't he? Okay, but did Scamacca choose PSG over us? Now, yes, he did. PSG went in for him first and then came in for him at the end, and he said, no, I'm joining West Ham. Now, we're not privy. We don't watch the Paris Saint-Germain YouTube channel. Is it called Paris PSG Chat? Maybe it is. Or whatever. Or the Newcastle one. But they're also going to be disappointed. PSG are probably saying, well, why do we always miss out? How have we managed to miss out on a player to a club like West Ham? I bet they're saying it. Do you remember very, very late Newcastle came in for Aguerd? We got him. We got him. Newcastle didn't get him. We did. And I'm pretty sure Newcastle fans have been saying, hold on, how come we didn't get him? We were in for him. There's that one again. And basically, it does go on and on and on if you start looking at these things and looking at players that we want to bring in. And now the latest one's obviously Mawxel Cornet. And Mawxel Cornet was wanted by Everton. And I remember a couple of days ago, Everton fans saying, well, how come we can't get this deal over the line? Now, I don't understand how they've not been able to sign Cornet, but they can sign Onana. I don't know. But actually, when you start looking at it, we do bring players in. We are able to make West Ham seem more attractive, but it's just easy. It's so much easier to look at the failures than it is the successes. Before I go any further, this video is sponsored by the OneFootball app, which you can download by clicking that little link in the box down below. I say box, a drop-down body of text, or you can scan that QR code up there. Why should you download the OneFootball app? Well, I'll give you a few reasons. Number one, it's free. Number two, if you don't like it, you can delete it. But number three, what it will do is it will put all the West Ham news together in one place for you, so you don't have to go searching for it. I'm sure you've downloaded it by now. If you haven't, why not? Give it a go. It will cost you nothing. At the point where you sign up, it says who do you support and which competitions you're interested in, and it only delivers that news to you. You don't have to worry about all the other stuff. Check it out in the link below. And I come now to David Moyes' press conference, which I watched. So as I record this, it's Friday, late Friday afternoon, half 4, something like that. David Moyes' press conference. David Moyes said, I want to bring players in. I know we're short. I think we need at least, I think he said, did he say 3 or 4 or 4 or 5? Something like that. Let's just go with 4. He said we lost 4 players last season. He said we lost 1 goalkeeper and 3 outfield players. We need more. He said we didn't manage to bring anybody in January. So he's telling us. Now, we know this, right? And I think this is where the frustration comes in. I think because we've been so frustrated with the previous transfer windows, we now expect doom and gloom. And because we expect doom and gloom, we're not noticing actually when the good signings come in. Not everybody, by the way, but I just think there is a more positive side, because I keep reading this thing about West Ham are crap at transfers, and I get it honestly, the start of every single transfer window. Somebody you could go and check it. There's people that literally write on here, West Ham are not going to sign anybody this transfer window. Okay, now I get it. Actually, January we didn't, did we? Okay, but by and large, we do. And sometimes we get it wrong, by the way. Sometimes we do, but I do think we do it. It's about half and half. Are we missing out on players to other clubs? Yes. Are we beating other clubs to players? Yes. Actually, they're both true. So when David Moyes says, actually, I think we need to bring in about another 4 players, well, I believe him. He's basically saying in an interview, we've not done well enough. I say interview as the pre-match press conference. We've not done well enough. We need to do more. We need to do better. That makes me... Well, it makes me pleased. That makes me a little bit more positive going forward about what we're going to do for the rest of this transfer window. Should we have got players in before now? Yes, but we have brought in 3 or 4 players already, and the season hasn't started yet. I think there's a frustration. I understand it. Aguerd's got injured. It looks like Scamacca's not fit enough. Great, well, not great. I mean, Flyn Downes is. I was going to say Flyn Downes is great, but is he going to feature? I don't know. Areola, we don't even know if he's going to play in goal. There are frustrations, but there's. I just sometimes I look at the chat underneath, and I always try and reply to as many as possible, and I certainly always read all the comments. But there's always some in there, and there's a couple of people who every time we don't sign a player, they'll comment. There you go, we didn't sign a player, I knew it. But then every time we do, they don't post anything. So again, I just find it quite a negative way to view what's going on at West Ham. But then there's the opposite, which is viewing everything as positive and then just trying to spin when we do badly. I get it, but I just think there's somewhere in the middle, and I don't think we're doing quite as badly as everybody. Not everybody, sorry, I keep saying everybody, it's not everybody. As some people think. I think we're actually all right. I think we're doing okay. I think, bearing in mind, as a fledgling partnership, David Moyes and Rob Newman together have not done this before. I've done all right. I managed to get the Areola deal over the line. I got the Aguerd deal over the line. Flyn Downes, obviously, and Scamacca. That's pretty good. Now, it looks like they might get Mawxel Cornet over the line as well. And other clubs are interested. This is a good player. Yes, did they miss out on Onana? Yeah, I don't really blame them for reasons that I've already said. Even if you don't believe that he's on, okay, let's go with a package. Let's say we believe everything that was in the press and on the websites and everything. 135 grand a week and 35 million going to 40. That is over a 5-year deal with the option. You're getting at sort of 65 million pound package overall, right? Even if you take it down and knock it down to less than 100 grand a week, it's still a £50 million package. That's not what you pay for potential, because that's what you're getting with him, is potential. That's a punt. You buy a player like Onana, you don't know. It's not like buying Calvin Phillips. You know he's going to work out. That's an absolute punt on that. It's a gamble. That's not the sort of money you do. You don't gamble that sort of money and bring a player like that in on more wages than Antonio and Declan Rice and Jared Bowen. You just don't do it. So I understand why David Moyes would pull out on that one. There's no way that he pulled out of the Jesse Lingard one. We just got beaten to it. But you know what? He stood his ground and he turned around, and whatever it was, we'll never know what the true fees are. Personally, I think, reading between the lines, Jesse Lingard's on £10 million to play for one season for Nottingham Forest. Which, when you actually break it down, whether you say, it doesn't really matter how you cut and slice it, whether you say 5 million of it is a signing on fee and then it's 100 grand a week. 100 grand a week is basically £5 million a year. It doesn't matter. Or whether you say there's no sign on fee and it's 200 grand a week, it doesn't matter. Whatever it was, those wages, David Moyes looked at it and thought, I cannot possibly think that I can pay this guy over 100 and whatever it was, 130 grand a week. And he was right, so he was right to walk away. Did they miss out? Did they outbid us? Yes. I think the fact that Nottingham Forest are bidding for Morgan Gibbs-White is a hell of a player. Really good player. Really like him. Like him at West Ham. Probably shows that they are an ambitious club and they've got money to spend. They really do. But so have we, and I'm buoyed by this. I'm buoyed by the fact that we bid for Phillips, even though we missed out, and then we bid for Onana, even though we missed out. Because it does show, whether you believe the 50 million for Phillips or the 35 million for Onana, it does show that there's a big chunk of money set aside for a central midfielder. Now, personally, I'm not bothered about Onana because I think I'd prefer the money to be spent on a left back. But maybe, just maybe, David Moyes also wants to spend some other money on a left back. I've already think we appear to have more money to spend than I thought. Remember, at the start of it was the end of the season, and I did a couple of videos saying, I wonder if we've got between 100 and 150 million to spend. That'd be really good. I wasn't suggesting we necessarily would, but I sort of hoped we would. And again, there was somebody on there saying, "Oh, Gonzo, you think we might be spending 100 million, 150 million, need your head examined, you're deluded," and all of this sort of stuff. So I think there's a lot of people who didn't think that. And I'm not saying I did believe it, I just hoped that it would happen. I just think when you look at it, we're not doing that bad. Now, I'm not saying the club are brilliant at everything. Far from it, right? But, I mean, for instance, the ticket thing. I think the ticket, they've sorted it out now. So well done to the club for backing down and sorting it out. But that e-ticketing thing, I think, was horrendous. I think it was horrible. I was dreading going to that ground on Sunday with this GPay thing on my phone, a system I've never used before, and then having to let my son go through a turnstile without me with my phone and then try and pass it back. It just makes no sense. So I'm quite happy to dig the club out when they do something stupid, and that really, really was. But I don't think this is particularly bad transfer window. I think we're getting more than half the targets we're going for, and that ain't bad. And before you look at it and you think, actually, it's just old West Ham here. Well, as I say, Newcastle went in for Aguerd. They didn't get him. Newcastle went in for the striker that did go to PSG. They didn't get him. If you're a Newcastle fan, you're probably thinking, why can't we get these players? Everton were in for Cornet. Everton have been in for other players as well. They can't necessarily get them. I'll give you one last example as well. Flyn Downes. Flyn Downes was about to sign for Crystal Palace, and we nicked him from under Crystal Palace's nose. So they had to reassess and look to bring somebody else in. Unfortunately, it's just what happens. We played the trump card on there. We've missed out on a couple. Maybe the next one we got. Actually, the next one we have got in, it looks like we've got Cornet. So I think at the point of recording this, I say whatever. I don't know. There's a bloody point recording this. 7 minutes past 5. There you go. By the time I got this uploaded and all the rest of it, it might be closer to 6 o'clock. I'll release it later on tonight just in case it gets old. But maybe Cornet's been announced. As I understand it, the medical's been done and the terms are agreed and all the rest of it. Well, we won. We were victorious on this occasion. So there you go. That's just what I thought. I'd be interested to know what you think about it. Are we a little bit too harsh? I know it's not everybody, because there's a lot of people who do say, okay, well, you're not bothered about Onana. I get it. A lot of you are saying, well, if he's not bothered, he doesn't appear to want to come to West Ham, and he didn't, then you don't mind losing him. Jesse Lingard, he didn't want to come to West Ham, yet he preferred to go to Nottingham Forest. All this stuff, and that's why I said at the time, don't believe this spiel about, I really wanted to come to West Ham. Absolute nonsense. If he wanted to come to West Ham, it'd be at West Ham. That was not what was happening. I never knew about any love for Nottingham Forest, you know, and it gets spun that actually he's there for the project. It's not there for the project. If he was if Jesse Lingard totally bought into that long-term project, he wouldn't have signed a one-year deal. The one-year deal is all about one thing, and it's about so he can go on another free transfer afterwards. Whether it might even go back to Nottingham Forest, but it's about maximising his signing-on fee and his earning potential, so basically he can be another free agent. Didn't want to come to West Ham. Onana didn't want to come to West Ham. Kostic didn't want to come. It is anyone, oh, do I have to sign for West Ham? I'll do anything but sign for him. And that's fine. I get it. I wouldn't have, if he'd have just said at the start, actually, I love it at Frankfurt, I want to play Champions League football, wouldn't even have batted an eyelid about it. But you know what? We walked away from him and we found someone else. I think that's really good. And it was the same with Breuer. I think Breuer wanted to come, but it was Chelsea. Couldn't do the deal. We walked away. We got someone else. So I'm pretty chilled about the rest of the transfer window. If we don't get a particular target, I think we're going for somebody else because, you know what? Listening to David Moyes speak, it appears that he knows who he wants. And do you know what? One thing has been proven. David Moyes said for 18 months, I've got funds for a striker. I can buy a striker. I've just not spent it yet. And a lot of, and even myself at times, I disbelieved it. But actually, you look back and think, actually, he did, didn't he? I mean, he did, because in the end, he did have, whatever he spent, 35 million, 34 million on Scamacca. He did have that. And actually, he's been saying, I've got money to spend on players. Well, he has. He's been bidding for them. So I'm all right with that. We might not be the best in the world at it, but to look at West Ham and think, why are we so bad to compare everybody else, means that you discount that we basically pipped Crystal Palace to the post for Downes. You discount that we've beaten Everton to Cornet. You discount that we beat Newcastle to Aguerd, and you discount that we beat PSG to Scamacca. Basically, all that evidence you dismiss. You ignore it and you push it to the side, and all you do is you look at Onana and you look at Jesse Lingard, you look at Kostic, because you think, forget that evidence, that doesn't, it's a confirmation bias. That evidence there of us signing players and pinching players off of other clubs doesn't support what I believe. I'm going to ignore that, I'm going to push that to one side. I'm only going to concentrate on this evidence here, which supports my belief. As I say, we've all got a bit of a confirmation bias on something. Sometimes we have to train sometimes we have to train ourselves. A great example, so I've been talking for too long here, right? A great example was Chris Akabusi. When I said about us not having enough loads of sprinters in the team, and Akabusi, let's be fair, knows a bit more about running than I do, right? He turned around and he said to me, the trouble is, if you get loads of players with twitch muscle, they get a lot of hamstring injuries, don't they? And I've thought about it. He's absolutely right. You know, they don't have the endurance. They can't run like Souček runs all day long. And this is the thing. So sometimes you've got to sort of clip and curtail your confirmation bias a little bit and take other opinions on board. That being said, I do think we lack a bit of pace, but I'm delighted to see Cornet coming in. I'm not going to lie.